Hey guys, Crypto DT here, bringing you another video about my insights into the crypto world. So I know I haven't uploaded a video for about 4 months now. Really sorry to everybody that subscribed and was hoping for new content, but I am back in action, here to document my journey, share new insights, or anything else that I find that might be helpful to everybody that's subscribed or that's watching these videos. Without further ado, today I wanted to talk about Ethereum Classic and what it is. And the reason I want to talk about it is because on August 7th, Coinbase actually added it to their list. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea what Ethereum Classic was. I, of course, knew about Ethereum. I didn't know how it came about and what happened. So I decided to do some research and basically share that with you guys. So I really hope you find that useful. So let's jump right into it. So Ethereum Classic, as you can see on their Wikipedia page, is an open source public blockchain-based distributed computing platform featuring smart contract functionality. So basically what happened was in May of 2016, this venture capitalist fund called the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization, raised $168 million, and it wanted to basically fund projects using smart contracts. So a lot of people were excited. You know, this was going to be built on the Ethereum blockchain. It's going to use the smart contract functionality. So this was great news. This was huge for the Ethereum community. However, in the same month, in May of 2016, there was a paper released detailing security vulnerabilities of with the DAO. So a month later, in June of 2016, a hacker exploited this security vulnerability and stole 3.6 million Ether, about approximately $50 million worth of Ether was stolen. If you want to get some more information about how that actually worked, there's a bunch of articles written about the exploit. But as it stood, $50 million worth of Ether was stolen. So this is where Ethereum Classic comes into play. So the community had a decision to make. Do they keep things the same, just patch up the vulnerability and say sorry to everybody who lost their money? As you probably guessed, this would be a huge blow to the Ethereum community, and most people were not okay with that. So the other approach was to do a hard fork and patch and basically create a new smart contract that would reverse the hacker's exploit and give everybody the money back that it was stolen from. So of course most people agreed with that approach. It would fix the security vulnerability and it would reverse everybody's stolen funds. It would basically bring back the stolen funds to the people. So this basically started the revolutionary war, is the analogy that I will go with, where Ethereum Classic community that wanted to stay with the same blockchain where the hack happened were the loyalists. And then we had the patriots that said, no, we really need a hard fork and give everybody their money back and keep innovating in a completely new blockchain that's going to be forked off of some state of Ethereum, which is now Ethereum Classic. So the big hitters like Vitalik Buterin and some others decided to go with this hard fork, and that's how Ethereum, the token ETH number 2 on CoinMarketCap, was born. So this hard fork happened later in 2016 and gave birth to what we now know as Ethereum, and the old blockchain where the security hack happened is now Ethereum Classic. So you know, these loyalists, as I like to call them, that stayed with Ethereum Classic basically wanted the blockchain to be immutable. And the reason they were so against the hard fork is it went against the whole idea of what they believed Ethereum stood for, which is one immutable blockchain that has smart contract functionality, that does its thing, and is not mutated just because there's a hack or something else happens. So after this revolutionary war was over, we had Ethereum Classic and we had the new Ethereum. Most of the innovation happens in the new Ethereum hard fork, which is the number 2 cryptocurrency as you know now. And for anybody that doesn't know what a hard fork is, it's basically a split of a blockchain at a specific point in time that is not backwards compatible. So that means the new Ethereum blockchain, all the innovation, all the features that are added there, are not backwards compatible to Ethereum Classic, so it doesn't benefit of any updates on Ethereum. So a great example is Ethereum recently moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Ethereum Classic did not get that, so they're still on proof of work. Whereas a soft fork is backwards compatible. So that's the story of Ethereum Classic in about 5 minutes. Let's jump into some other resources that I think will help you guys out. I'll leave a link in the description to all these articles and resources. So this was the article of the news of Ethereum Classic splitting into 2 blockchains when the new Ethereum was born. And they basically talked about why it happened, when it happened, and what the future looks like. So it actually happened on October 25th of 2016 at block 2.5 million. So I thought this was pretty interesting, so I'll leave it in the description so you guys can read this. Another article that I found really helpful was on blockgeeks.com that went into detail of how the hack happened, why people stayed with Ethereum Classic, why a lot of other people jumped on Ethereum. And it's a pretty long read, so I'm just going to go over the pros and cons to give you guys the bullet points of what this article talks about, basically the summary of this article. So let's jump right into that. I will say I found it to be a bit biased, against Ethereum Classic, but it still did a pretty good job based on my research of summarizing the pros and cons. So this is the best source that I found. So let's jump into the list. So the pros for Ethereum Classic are: it stays true with the philosophy of the immutability of the blockchain, as we talked about. 2, has recently got the backing of a few big players. That's always a plus. It's been in the top 20 on CoinMarketCap for a little while now, so it's still relevant. Let's get into the cons. The cons are: it doesn't get access to all the new updates made in the Ether chain. So as I mentioned, the move from proof of work to proof of stake. If you don't know what proof of work or proof of stake is, I'm going to leave a link in the description to this page that basically describes it. So hopefully that will help out. So the next con for Ethereum Classic is all the heavyweights of the Ethereum have moved on to Ether. For example, like Vitalik Buterin. 3, it's considered an insult and an attack on the Ethereum community. I definitely see this as a point, because basically what would happen is, if they didn't have the new hard fork, is everybody that lost their money wouldn't get it back, and they would just say, sorry guys, but continue to invest, keep spending your money, even though you might lose it again like that. We're not willing to help you guys out if something bad happens. It's just, that was not a way to go. This last one I did some research on. I couldn't really verify it, but this article claims it's known to be full of scammers. This is one of those things that's a bit debatable for me, but it's on the list. Now let's get into Ethereum. As you can see, we've got a lot of pros here. This is why I said it's a bit biased, but still relatively accurate. So it's growing at an exponential pace. True. Has the majority of the original big dogs who have created Ethereum in its corner. Yes. Reversed the DAO hack and given back the stolen money to its rightful owners, for sure. That's why it was created. Number 4, it's being constantly updated with the latest changes. Yes. Has a higher hash rate than ETC. A powerful example of the Ethereum community, of what the Ethereum community is capable of when it comes together to solve a problem. I think that's a big one. And the last pro is Ether is backed by a powerful group of 200 corporations called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, the EEA, which aims to use the blockchain technology to run smart contracts for Fortune 500 companies, such as Microsoft, JP Morgan, Toyota, ING, etc. So that's pretty big. And there's only one con on this list, and it's basically goes against the policy of immutability. So that's why Ethereum Classic is still around. So last but not least, I will leave you with something interesting I found, which is the Google Trends chart here for some keywords I inputted. So I inputted 4 different things, which is people searching for Ethereum Classic, ETC Coinbase, ETC versus, my bad, this should be ETC versus ETH, and lastly, Ethereum Classic on Coinbase. So as you can see, the interest for the Google search term Ethereum Classic spiked after it was released on Coinbase, because people didn't really know what it was, just like me. So it was at 100% of interest between August 12th and 18th, and then it went down. It's going, straight down to zero nowadays. So the interest is not as big as it was when it was released on Coinbase. But as you can see, people were searching for it around the time of release. So lastly, everybody's probably wondering if you should invest in it. That's totally up to you. Now you have the facts, you have the history. Personally, I like Ether better. I'm a huge Vitalik Buterin fan. I like the innovation that's happening in Ethereum. People have their debates. A lot of people are saying it's dying. Others are saying it hasn't even gotten started yet. There's so many things in the pipeline. The fact that it's #2 on CoinMarketCap says a lot about the Ethereum hard fork that happened after this hack. Ethereum Classic, I think, is hovering around number 14 and 15 spot on CoinMarketCap. Still relevant, but I will let you make the decision of whether you want to invest. I just wanted to share my insights and research about it. So I hope you guys found that video helpful. If you did, feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy investing.